Kitty has had her cameo. We actually... Oh, 2 people. Thank you, Frida. Alright, tell me when it is time to begin.
Hold on a minute.
Joseph, turn around. For those that have just joined us, we are prepping on emergency preparedness. We will start at 2 o'clock sharp, and we have some pre-viewing entertainment. This is Joseph the gerbil and Frida the cat's wandering around. So bear with us for a few more minutes. And we are on the countdown down. Okay, thank you, Frida. Yes. I love you too. Prepared for any emergency? Absolutely.
Two more minutes.
Yep. Sorry. Shay?
It's alright, what happened?
Oh, I was... Alright, so we got a little bit of a delay, but not too bad. So we're down to 2 minutes. Actually,
1 minute.
1 minute.
How many are on?
We have 59 viewing. Just ran into the coyote. Just for everybody over there, Shea and I are laughing because I just ran into the coyote. Don't know why, but a friend brought this to me. Yep, I have a coyote, or at least the head. Way to go. Okay, we are live in 3, 2, 1.
Hey, Cub Scouts of Capillary Council and across our entire country. We have scouts from all over America joining us today, which is pretty cool. So I'm Shea Mackin. I am the Program Ranger and Summertime Camp Director at Camp Tom Wooten for Capillary Council. And this class is all about the Emergency Preparedness Award for the Cub Scouts. So this is what the award looks like. It's a pin that can go on your uniform. Once you've watched this video and done the activities at home, then your parent can let your Cub Scout leader know that you've done everything you need for the Cub Scout Emergency Preparedness Award, and they can order that pin for you. And then once you guys have your next pack meeting sometime at the end of this school year, hopefully, then you can be awarded that pin. Pretty cool. So the Emergency Preparedness Award is all about safety for yourself and safety for others. So I've got my handy dandy super cape that I'm going to put on, so I am prepared for all emergencies. Here we go. Now you don't need a super cape like me to be a superhero for your family and for your friends and those that you come across, but it's always helpful. The really cool thing about our neckerchiefs for Cub Scouts is they're like a mini cape. Pretty cool. So we are kind of in doing Cub Scouts and all sorts of things, school and things from home. But we have some really awesome superheroes around our country and around the world that are helping to protect and save those around us. I wanted to show you something that I found out this morning. So this is the USNS Mercy. You guys may have seen this ship on the news. This guy right here, he's Captain John Rowe-Truck, and he is the captain of the USNS Mercy, which is docked right now outside of LA in California. And it has a ton of beds and 800 people on that ship, that when LA and other parts of Southern California need extra beds and services to help with the COVID crisis, this captain and his 800 people are there docked at the dock to be able to help those people. You know something cool about Captain John Rowe-Truck? He is an Eagle Scout. So he started just like you as a young scout, learning how to protect himself and others, and then became a hero in the military and with medical. I'm not sure if he's a doctor himself. I'm guessing he probably is. I know he's overseeing lots of doctors and nurses that are on that ship. Pretty cool. That is, again, the USNS Mercy in docked in LA. So,
Thumbs up.
woohoo! Yay, Eagle Scouts. So, one of our requirements, and we're going to go over a bunch of different requirements that we have, is to have a fire drill and a fire plan for your family. Okay, so this is not a diagram of my house, but I found this online as an example. And what this person did is drew out the floor plan of their house. And you can see the red arrows are the first way out. That's through doors and things like that. So if your fire alarm in your house goes off, then you should first go out the doors, right? And then you need to have, if you can, a secondary escape or a secondary route. So that's these yellow arrows in this diagram. For these are windows. Now some rooms, like this living room, has a door and a window that you can go out. But this bathroom, notice, only has one way. This bathroom doesn't have a window. So that's good to indicate where your secondary and your first way out is, okay? Then what do they have? They've got a red arrow going this way and for their first way, and their yellow arrow for their second way going to, for this family, they decided on a tree that was not in their front yard, maybe a little bit down the street or across the street, as their meeting place. So for my family, we already did this, and our plan is we go across the street and call 911 from our neighbor's house. So we already walked over to our neighbor's house and made a plan, and this was before COVID, so I probably wouldn't walk over to the neighbor's house right now, but make a plan of where you're going to go to meet and then also to call 911, right? So everybody needs to do this as a family to get your emergency preparedness award. So you need to draw a map, a floor plan with your first and your second way outs and where you're going to meet. And then as a family, walk over there so that everybody knows this is how you go. Okay, so that's your first thing you need to do. Now, something interesting. See this bathroom right here? Remember, so if I'm in this bathroom or any of the rooms and I hear the fire alarm, what I should do first is touch the door or the doorknob. And if it's hot, do not open that door. That means there's an active fire somewhere heating that up. Do not open the door. So what you should do, if you're in the bathroom or if you're in your bedroom, you take a towel and you stick it at the bottom of the door, okay? So just grab whatever you can, clothes, whatever fabric, and shove it underneath that door. That's gonna keep the smoke from going in the room, okay? Then you either go to your secondary, your window, and get out that way, or you sit as far as you can in the room from that door so that smoke doesn't get to you. And the people who have been able to get out of your house will know, oh, Bobby or Amy are in their room, and then they'll tell the fire department where to find you, okay? And so you want to stay low because the smoke that can get in will rise up. So you need to stay as low as you can, and as soon as you see a fireman, don't be scared of them. They're going to be in this big, usually yellow suit with a big mask and a thing, kind of a Darth Vader mask, and they're kind of gonna, it's gonna kind of sound a little funny. Do not be scared of them. That's the person that's there to save you and to help you get to a safe place, okay? But your ideal number one is to follow your plan and get out of the house, okay? So everybody make your plan with your family and know where you're gonna go and how, maybe what house you're going to go to call 911, right? You don't stay in the house and wait to call 911 in your house. Ideally, you go over to your meeting place and then call 911. All right. So yes.
Do you want them to post some pictures of them working on their fire plans?
That would be awesome. So in the discussion under this video, so this video will be up on the webpage for 3 weeks, okay? And you guys can post pictures, still pictures, or videos of your family getting together and making your fire plan. The other plan you need to make is an emergency plan for your family, okay? There's a couple things you need to do for that. So here's an example of an emergency plan. This first page has emergency numbers to call. Maybe these are posted on your refrigerator, or you keep these maybe in your backpack at school, so that if you are not at home and an emergency happens and you need to call people. And then those of you who may have cell phones, make sure that you have marked in your phone your emergency contacts, okay? So maybe those are your neighbor, obviously mom or dad or grandma and grandpa or your guardian. Even we have for our family their grandma and grandpa who don't live in Texas, they live in California. And I'm going to go over what you're going to do with that phone number in a minute, okay? So that's one of the things, is to come up with who you're going to call in an emergency. hey, we're having an emergency, or there's an earthquake, or things like that that we'll go over. The next thing you need to do is pick a meeting spot. Now, we just talked about if there's a fire at your house, you're going to pick a meeting spot. There's other meeting spots too. Say my kids are down at the park and there's an emergency. They know that they're supposed to go to our church that's a couple blocks away from our house, or to our friend's house. So we have 2 or 3 places that are the safe places for them to go. A couple years ago at our neighbors, so they were a couple neighborhoods away, there was a fire. And it came from the field next to their house, and their entire neighborhood was evacuated. Well, I had 2 families that were in that neighborhood who didn't have anywhere to go. And they'd already set it up with me that if they had an emergency, they could come to my house. So for that whole day, while the fire department put out the fire in their neighborhood, I had those 2 families hanging out at our house. We played some games, watched some movies, and try to keep everybody calm and still kind of watch the news and see what was going on with their house. And then when they got the all clear to be able to go home, then they were able to go home. So the good thing was they'd already set up their where to go. Okay, so you need to have multiple where's to go. That if you're at your house, where you're going to go, or if you're somewhere else, you're going to go to the school or a church or your friend's house. And you need to have one maybe in your neighborhood and one that is not in your neighborhood, maybe a neighborhood down the road, okay? And then draw a map of how you're going to get to those places so that you know you're going to walk down and you're going to turn left and turn right, so you remember how it is that you're going to get to those places. And then know the exits, just like we talked about in our fire plan, okay? So how are we going to find out that there's an emergency? So on my phone, I have a couple apps that warn me about weather emergencies in different places, and I can pick the cities that I want those weather emergencies. Okay. The other thing that I have out at Camp Tom Wooten, because sometimes this cell phone signal is not really good at Camp Tom Wooten, we have a weather radio, and this is also set for out at camp, and it will go off and let me know when there's an emergency in that area, like a tornado or a thunderstorm, things like that, so we can be prepared that something's coming our way. So cell phone apps, your fire alarm, maybe your weather radio, other ways. So find out from your family how it is you guys have set up to know if there's an emergency. Around here, we don't have things like maybe in Oklahoma, they sometimes have tornado sirens in their towns. And so maybe you might be on vacation or at family members and you hear a big siren and you need to know what to do in that area. So if you're visiting somewhere else, maybe ask them, do you guys have any weather radios or ways so that we know if there's an emergency? Okay. So some emergencies, what are some emergencies you guys can think of? Can you type in the discussion? We'll see if you guys can think of some emergencies. Or mom and dad can type. We'll see if Jessica can do 2 things at once, video and check some emergencies.
And plug the phone in for power. All right. Wait.
Any discussions yet? Nope, that's okay. So we talked about fire. We talked a little bit about tornadoes. That does happen sometimes in our area, right? Mm-hmm. Or not just a house fire, but we have wildfires that hit our area because we have big kind of plains areas that sometimes in a thunderstorm, lightning hits and creates fire. Every so often we might have an earthquake. Those don't happen super often in our area. So you, as a family, talk about emergencies that happen in our area and what your plan is, where you're going to go. If there's a tornado, you should have a place in your house that you go, and that's somewhere without windows. Our place is a closet at our house, and we already have in there, we have some water all the time. We keep water and a backpack and a weather radio and batteries and flashlights, because a lot of times if a storm comes, you also lose power, right? And so then we're stuck in a closet with no windows and we don't know what's going on. So we keep a radio in there, those kinds of things. So those are some good ideas. Ooh, do we have some comments?
We do. Tsunamis, robbers, somebody hurt really bad. Sorry, I'm reading and my Flash floods, tornadoes.
Flash floods, good one. So you guys, here we hear a lot about turn around, don't drown, right? I get a flash flood. There's a creek right by my house. So we are always, when we get flash flood warnings, checking to make sure that the creek isn't coming close to our house and we have to evacuate. But we also know what areas are low-lying areas. I know when I go out of my house, I cannot turn left if there's a flash flood warning because that's a low-lying area. So we always are going to have to turn right to leave our neighborhood if there's a flash flood. So look around your house, have your parents figure out the best escape routes for things like flash floods. I heard tsunami. So a tsunami more if you're closer to the coast. Yes, for sure. And what was another one? Oh, robbers. So that's keeping your house locked, right? And staying safe. I'm always telling my kids, remember to lock the door behind you when you come in, things like that. And I always check the door every night before I go to bed. Always keep your door locked even during the day. It's a good idea. For your car, always lock the door before you go into the store, things like that, to make sure that you're safe. And then know your emergency numbers. So to make those plans, some of the a really great link is ready.gov kids. Okay, there's a regular ready.gov and they have a specific kids area with kid-friendly places to make plans, to help you know what to do. So this is a great resource that our government has put together to give us lots of ways to stay safe. And that's going to cover pretty much all of those, tsunamis, tornadoes, all that stuff. It's also going to give you some really good ideas of your emergency plan. Okay, and you can even print, that's exactly where I got this emergency plan from. So you can even print it off and fill it out and you don't have to do it on a separate piece of paper. And then everybody knows what the plan is, right? Good. Now, who in America do we call? What's the number, guys, if there's an emergency? Let's see if anybody types it out. Did anybody pop up?
Let's see. Sorry.
That's all right.
Gotta scroll down to it. Gas leak and...
Oh, gas leak, yeah.
Flash flood, hailstorm. We're still getting a few comments in.
Good.
And I have not seen anybody's answer come up yet, but
okay. So I'm going to hold it up. Remember what it is, 911. Now, you just have to kind of practice it. Don't practice, I would not say practice it on your phone because sometimes that might accidentally go to 911 and we don't want to take up their time with a practice, right? Know what it is. It's always a good idea to post your emergency numbers somewhere in your house, including 911, just so you remember. Because when there's an emergency, I promise, I've had to call 911 a couple times now. Your brain kind of goes silly, and you are like, what is that emergency number? So it's 911, okay? That's what it is in our country. I see a couple people saying 911. Good job.
Yep.
All right, another emergency number is, this is the Poison Help Center. So another good number to have in your house, that is 1-800-222-1222. Okay, and we're going to talk a little bit about poisoning and why you might call that number. It's another good number to have up by your 911, just in case. But you can always call 911 in case of a poisoning issue, okay? One of the things that you need to remember during an emergency is if there's a lot of people, like a tornado or an earthquake or even COVID, what's been happening is so many people are on the phone that the phone lines are getting busy. I called my husband, who's currently not home, and I was getting busy lines because that area was, everybody was on their phone. So the best way to contact your important numbers like mom, dad, guardians, grandma, and grandpa to let them know where you are and where that you're safe is by texting. Texting will go through a lot easier in an emergency than actually calling. Okay, so remember to text, try not to call. But who is everybody texting? So have everybody in an emergency. Number one, we are all going to text grandma, or we're all going to text Mrs. Jones, so that there's one person collecting all that information. Bob, Sally, mom, dad, uncle are all texting so that grandma has the information of where everybody is and what they need if they're safe. Really, one of the best things that are going on right now is we're all together, right? We're all at home for the most part, unless your family is in an essential job where they need to be out doing their job. And so we kind of all know where each other is right now in this emergency. But most other emergencies, if you're not all home, it kind of worries your guardians and your other family where everybody is. So texting that one person, and then that person can send out a text saying this is where everybody is. All right.
So
Yes.
Let's see, there was a question. What would you do when there is an animal in the house?
Ooh, an animal in the house. So depends on the animal. Like a stray cat or dog, usually I just try and open a door and let them out. If you have to, you can call 911. They will come and help you if they have time. If it's a major emergency where everybody's kind of calling 911, that might take a little while. But what I've done is put everybody, I'm a little bit scared of birds, people.
So am I.
And so we had a bird fly in our house, and I did not want to be around the bird. So I got my whole family to go in a bedroom. We closed the door, and we called someone that we knew we could trust that came in and caught the bird for us and took it out. Because the bird, I figured, wasn't going to bite us or something for the most part, so I didn't need to call an emergency worker to come and take care of it. Animal control can come out. So that might be another good number to keep ready. I don't have that with me, but you can Google that and keep that with your emergency numbers. Animal control will come out and help you with a lot of animals. They won't come out and help you with every animal. So that's my answer.
Okay. And can we show the website one more time?
Which one?
For
Ready.gov, yes.
Yes.
So here we go. Ready.gov. And then there's the kids portion of that, just because that's mainly who's watching this video.
Awesome.
The Ready.gov has a lot of information, and then the kids area has information tailored especially for them by experts who know what kids will be able to handle and understand.
Okay.
All right, so how do you get help? We call 911. Maybe we have to go to a neighbor's house. If you're out at camp or other places, you go to an adult like a teacher or your Cub Scout leader. So figuring out, that's a good thing to do with your den and your pack too. Okay, we're at this campsite. Where are your emergency areas? Who do you need to contact in an emergency? At Camp Tom Wooten, you guys might come up to the dining hall and find me. I usually, if I'm not there, I post my number so that people can get a hold of me and I can go help take care of that emergency. Same thing on the Lost Pines side. They've got the numbers of the rangers. Parks and Rec, same thing. If you're at a state park, they have a way to get a hold of people who can help you. So that's always a good thing to do, is how we're at this new place maybe you don't know or unfamiliar, and who are the people that you can get a hold of to help you in an emergency.
So I'm going to stop you for just a second. I'm very sorry. The phone is heating up because of all the filming. So I need to take off its cover. We're having a small phone emergency. So please forgive me. I'm very sorry. I'm trying to get the cover off. Okay, yeah, that phone's really hot. Okay, sorry.
It was a phone emergency. We were prepared. We knew what to do.
I didn't want to just turn off on me. And okay, we're back. We're live. We're good.
So we have a couple first aid things that we need to go over so that your parents know you know what to do to help yourself, your friends, your family, other people around you in case something happens, right? And so the number one thing is to stay calm. Whenever somebody gets hurt, is if you know what to do, it helps you to stay calm. So we have a couple things we're going to go over. So I'm going to make myself a pretend cut here on my finger. Can you guys see my cut? Can you see it, Jessica? There's my cut.
Ouch.
So I cut myself somehow, right?
Yeah.
Maybe I fell down. So the first thing you want to do, if yourself or someone else cuts themselves anywhere, you, as the person who's helping, always want to wash your hands with soap and water, okay? Make sure your hands are clean. Now, if, and have a first aid kit anywhere you go. This is one of my little Scout first aid kits I keep in one of my backpacks. So what part of your 6 essentials for Scouts is to have, like when you're out hiking, is a first aid kit, okay? So I have a first aid kit in my house that everybody in my house knows where it is. I also have a first aid kit in my car in case something happens to us when we're out and about, or someone else it might happen to. I've had to pull over when there's been car accidents and use a first aid kit in my car to help people with minor injuries or until the ambulance got there. Okay, and then also like in your backpack, I know some kids have little small first aid kits with band-aids and things like that for school. Do not keep medicine in your first aid kit if it is going to school. Okay, most schools do not allow you to have medicine. You need to go to the nurse. Okay, so that's more for kids who are maybe walking to or from school and they have a few band-aids or things like that. Okay, so in your first aid kit, a good thing to have are some gloves, and you need to be aware that some gloves are latex and some gloves are not latex. I have friends who are allergic to latex, so that means so Miss Jessica who's filming is allergic to latex. If I put on, this is a latex glove, so then if I touch Jessica, she can have an allergic reaction. So I'm not going to put on latex gloves, and I usually mark latex and non-latex in my first aid kits, and I ask people, do you know if you're allergic to latex? Okay, so wash hands, put on gloves, and that's going to protect the person you're helping and you. Okay, these gloves. Now the next thing you're going to do is wash this area. I don't have a sink right here, but what you're going to always want to do is have flowing water to wash this cut. Okay, not stick it in a sink or in a bowl of water that's just staying still. You need to use a hose. You could use like a bottle of water and have it flow, and then soap, right, to kind of clean that out. Sometimes you'll have little pebbles if you fell, and you can try and get those out with the water and flushing that out. Okay, then once you dry that off with a clean cloth, this one I'm going to use an appropriate size band-aid or cover, okay? But before I do that, what do I need to put on? Maybe some antibiotic cream or other things that your family uses to help, okay? So I've got my shield and sword here. Why? So this is my first aid shield and sword. Okay, so a shield is like a band-aid. Okay, so for your cut, this band-aid is going to act like a shield and keep all the germs and all the yucky stuff and all the dirt off of your open wound. So it's going to shield you from any yucky stuff. This antibiotic cream or other cream that is okayed with your family is kind of like a sword. It's going to battle and fight any germs that may get into your cut or ouchie, okay? So it's always good to use soap and water to clean it off, and then make sure that you are using a sword and a shield, so antibiotic and a band-aid to cover it up, okay? And that goes for other things too, not just a cut. Also, here's my scrape. Okay, I was riding my scooter and I fell and I scraped my elbow. That's not really a scrape, I promise, it's just Sharpie. Okay, now this Band-Aid would have a hard time covering that. So I have different size Band-Aids or shields to cover that up. So I cover that entire area so that germs who are coming to try and attack my open wound this acts like a shield to cover that whole thing. Make sense? All right, guys.
What
Yes.
about hydrogen peroxide or alcohol? My
Ah.
mom always put alcohol on me when I was hurt.
So those things kill the germs, which is great. And because right away, as soon as you're touching pretty much anything, especially if you fall, you're getting germs, whatever's on that surface, whether it's a table or the ground or a corner, that's going to kill those germs, and that will increase your likelihood and how quick you will heal right? So when you clean it properly with soap, water, alcohol, hydrogen peroxide, those kinds of things, that will make it so that your white blood cells can come in and do their job and heal you. Now, if you didn't clean it properly, they have to first go in there and battle the germs and then heal you. So that's going to take longer. So you want to do that job for them of cleaning first and making that barrier so no more new germs come on, so that those white blood cells can come on and build that scab that ends up happening, right? So that scab then acts as a natural shield so that you don't necessarily have to have a Band-Aid. So that your body creates its own shield to keep the germs out, and so that it lets those white blood cells heal you. Our body's pretty amazing. It is a true superhero. All right, the other thing I wanted to make sure you knew, if your cut is deeper than 1/4 inch, so 1/4 inch is about this big, it's maybe the size of your little pinky, not mine, but yours, because your fingers are smaller. If it's deeper than 1/4 inch, you probably have to go to the doctor to get stitches. That's about the gauge that you use, okay? 1/4 inch, which is, you'll feel it.
So if you can stick your pinky in the cut.
Don't stick your pinky in the cut.
Okay.
Look at our ruler. I was going to bring my rulers, but they're all clear because I do sewing. So all of that would be hard for you to see 1/4 inch. So it's about that big. Anything bigger than that, you're going to want to go to a doctor to get stitches. Okay. The other thing, if your cut or your scrape starts getting hot to the touch, okay? So that's another thing to check after a couple hours, a couple days. If it's hot or it's green, okay, then you need to go to a doctor, because that means that you're getting an infection, and you probably need to get some medicine, either topically, which is on the top, or that you take and ingest, and then helps your white blood cells and helps your body to fight that germ, okay?
Another one, in some places you can't cut that deep, but if you look at your hand, like I cut right there, you can see where the stitches were. But if you look down and there's white in your cut, that's bad.
Yeah, that
Go
would be
to the
deeper
doctor.
than 1/4 inch.
Yes. So if you see white, just
Yep.
go get help.
Just go get help. Good. All right. All right. So I brought a special guest to help us with choking. Here's my special guest. Here he is. My friend Stitch came to come and help us with choking, because Miss Jessica and I are keeping 6 feet away, social distancing, so that we are both healthy. So I can't have her come over and help me. So if Stitch was choking, how do we know he's choking? Usually his hands are around his neck or like this, and right, your mouth is open. The first thing you do is ask them if they're okay. Okay? If they say, if they can talk, okay, that means, so here's your airway going down your neck. That means it's not covering the whole thing, okay? If they can talk and some air can get through, that's good. And they usually, maybe with a drink of water, you can offer them some water. Do you want some water? And they can try and just flush that out of that airway, okay? Now, if you ask them, are you okay, and they cannot talk, then it's time for them to lean slightly over, okay, and you say, stay calm, I'm going to help you. Lean slightly over, and you're going to hit them in between their shoulder blades, okay? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. How many times? 5 times. And that, what you're trying to do is dislodge. Now, if after 1, 2, and a piece of food or whatever it is, gum, flies out, then you can stop hitting their back. Okay? So after 5 times, and then you check on them to see if they're okay. If they're not okay after 5, try 5 more times. Okay? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Notice again where I'm hitting. I'm not hitting down here. I'm not hitting on their head. Right in between the shoulders. Okay? Right in between the arms. 5 times. If after another 5 times they cannot cough up, right, or swallow, but dislodge their airway, you or someone else needs to call 911, because then we need to have our EMS and firemen heroes come and help them. Okay? So thank you, Stitch, for your help. He's also going to help me with our nosebleed. So
Poor Stitch.
poor Stitch has just had a bad day. First he was coughing, and now his nose is bleeding. His blood is invisible because he's an alien. So what you're going to do, and I'm going to take my glasses off so you can see my nose better. Okay, you're going to have them, or you're going to pinch. So there's a hard part. Everybody touch your nose up here. There's a hard part, bony hard part on the top of your nose. And then it comes down and it's squishier. Okay, do you see how it goes in? Here, my fingers can't go in because I'm hitting the hard part. Here, it's the squishy part. So at the very top of that squishy part, at the very bottom of the hard part, you're going to squeeze as hard as you can, okay? You're going to just keep holding it, squeezing it, squeezing it, squeezing. So poor Stitch, I'm going to hold his nose, okay? And you keep holding that nose for 10 minutes. 10 minutes you hold their nose. It's not fun because you're squeezing and pinching them, right? You don't, after 2 minutes, check to see if they're done bleeding, okay? Hold it for 10 minutes. So have somebody time you or watch a clock, 10 minutes, okay? If after 10 minutes, if you've held it and held it really good for 10 minutes and it's still, you let go and it is not maybe a little bit, but just gushing blood, then again, you need to call for help. Get an adult, and they possibly need to call 911. Within that 10 minutes, what's happening while you're pinching the nose is those white blood cells are hurrying to that ouchie, whatever, maybe they were picking their nose, which is a good idea not to do, right? Don't pick your nose because then you're scratching the inside of your nose and you can make it bleed. Or maybe it's really dry and the inside kind of cracked and started bleeding. So what's happening is those white blood cells rush to your nose and get to work cauterizing or putting a cover and stopping that blood. Now, if after that 10 minutes of pinching really good, you gave your white blood cells time for Stitch's nose and his white blood cells to help heal itself. If I let go and it's still just really going really fast, go ahead and get an adult and call for help, okay? Because those white blood cells, for some reason, are not able to do it by themselves, okay? The other thing that's a good idea is, what do we have? Our first aid kit and our gloves. So if you're going to be pinching someone's nose, ideally you have your first aid kit and your gloves, because if we're touching other people's blood and stuff like that, that's not a good idea because we can maybe get sick, or you can make them sick. And so holding onto that nose with a glove. Did we have a comment, Jessica?
Just checking.
Yeah, okay. All right, thank you, Stitch. Now, Stitch would never do this, but maybe...
We have a few people wanting, just make sure you speak loud.
Oh, am I too loud or too quiet?
Too quiet.
Too quiet.
Too quiet.
All right. So, our next first aid thing that we want to talk about is an animal bite. Okay? An animal bite is not fun. It could even just be from your cat or dog that's your dog or cat. But maybe it is from a neighbor's or a wild animal. Okay? The very first thing you're going to do is just like my scrape on my elbow. Okay? And what did we do for any scrape? We flush it with water first and get it really, really clean. And then I'm going to take soap and water and wash that area really good. It's not going to feel good because it's ouchy, because that animal hurt you, right? But you need to make sure it gets clean. So you clean it really good and then cover it with a bandage. And especially if it's a wild animal, then you would need to go to the doctor, okay? And if it's maybe your own animal and it was maybe just a little bit of a bite, then just watch it and watch for heat or color, things like that. Or maybe it's achy and hurts, okay? Then you need to go to the doctor. If it's a wild animal, I would probably go to the doctor anyway, and make sure that you're up to date on some of your immunizations, if your family does that, or shots, maybe tetanus and things like that can help fight those things, okay? All right, our next one that we're going to talk about is poisoning. So if someone in your family is thinking maybe they ate something they shouldn't or drank something they shouldn't, then again you can call 911 or this poison control center and they can help. For the most part, what you need to do is say, what did you eat? What did you drink? Find out what they ate or drink, okay? So that you can tell the 911 people. Do not right away give them something to drink, okay? Because sometimes water actually makes whatever certain poisons worse, or makes them so that you digest them or they go into your system faster. So you need to find out from the 911 or the Poison Control Center what to do to help that person. So the number one, your job, if you think someone ate or drank something that was poisonous or could make them sick, you need to call and find out what it was, or talk to the person and find out what it was that they ate or drank, so you can tell the emergency workers and they can tell you exactly what to do to help them, okay? So that is for poisoning. All right, a couple things. We're all home. And a lot of us, well, I guess all of you are on a phone or a iPad or a laptop or a computer. So a lot of us are using the internet right now. All of you are using the internet to get on this class. So there's some safety tips we need to follow when we are on the internet. Okay? So, oh, but I'm going to need my glasses so I can read these things. All right. Number one, guys, don't give anyone your password. Your name and address, the name of your school, or anything, any information about your family. So if you're in a group, like in a chat group or on the internet, you don't give them personal information about you or about your school. That is not a good idea, okay? Number two, do not talk to strangers on the internet. So sometimes you're on certain video games or other things on the internet and you might get a friend request. And it's not a good idea to accept a friend request from someone you don't know. I know a lot of you get your friend, your names, your internet names from your friends at school or in your community, and then you know that that's Bobby from school. That's different than just some random person coming in and trying to be your friend on the internet, okay? So don't talk to strangers on the internet. And number three, do not ever agree to meet with someone in person. So say somebody said, hey, let's get together and go have ice cream at the ice cream place down the street. Let's not meet strangers somewhere in person on the internet. It can be dangerous. So if there's a profile that asks for your name and your address, so if in a game it pops up and it asks you, hey, what's your name and your address? We want to give you 20 gold stars or whatever it is, the cool thing for the game. That could be like a hacker, somebody who comes into the computer just trying to get your name and your address. So again, you're not giving your name and your address to things on the internet. That's for your parents to do if they need to, okay? Don't visit chat rooms without your parents' permission or your guardian's permission, okay? So any chat room, if you're on Roblox or other things where there's chats, you have to have your parents' permission before you go and do those things. So your mom and dad know where you are. And it's a good idea for your parents to talk to you about your friends who are on there. Oh, I see you've got 5 friends on here. Who are these people? Okay? Don't stay online. If you see something online that you know your parents would not like, okay? Your parents have maybe talked to you about a few different things, or in general, your parents know, you know that your parents don't like certain things and you see it online, you need to click off of that and go tell mom and dad that you saw something that you know that they did not like, okay? That doesn't mean that you're in trouble. That just means sometimes stuff pops up or people say things or do things and you need to go talk to mom and dad about that, okay? The other thing is, do not post pictures of yourself without your parents' permission, okay? So don't have your face be the icon for next to your internet name, okay? Unless mom and dad take the picture and put it on for you for certain things, okay? Don't download or install anything on your computer without mom and dad's permission. So again, sometimes what happens is you're playing a game or on the internet and a thing pops up and says, install this thing and you'll get these cool whatever prizes for your game. But you need to go get mom and dad or your guardian and find out if it's okay to download that so you can get that prize. Sometimes it's just a trick, and there's sneaky people sometimes on the computer trying to get information from you, okay? If you have any questions about something that you read or something that you saw on the internet, go talk to your guardians, your mom and dad, or your grandma and grandpa, whoever helps you at home, okay? So if you have any kind of question about what that word meant or what somebody was doing, go and talk to mom and dad and they can help you, okay? If you are talking to anyone, number 10, here's our 10th thing. If you are talking to someone online, either with your mouth, right? So sometimes we have microphones and can talk to each other, or on chat, and if something makes you feel uncomfortable or kind of just weird or kind of scared, stop, do not type back to them, and go get your parent or mom and dad or your whoever's watching you at home, okay? So that we can make sure that you're safe all the time. We never want you to be in a situation where you're unsafe or uncomfortable, right? So underneath the where you hit interested or going to our class today, there are a few different links with some fun videos for different first aid things, so you can watch and kind of watch again how to help somebody who's choking. Keep in mind, a couple of those are British videos. They're really good videos, but their emergency number is different from our emergency number. So don't get confused if you see a different emergency number. Our emergency number is 911, okay? And then you have a couple homework items, right? What are those homework items? So you need to make your fire plan, draw out your first way to go, your second way to go out of every room, and figure out where your meet spot is, okay? Your second thing you need to do is make an emergency plan with your family. That includes phone numbers of trusted people that you're going to text or call in case of an emergency, okay? And then also your plans of where you're gonna go. You just did your fire one, maybe other emergencies, where you're gonna go in your neighborhood. Whenever we go to like a park or maybe to an amusement place, before we start, we always talk to our kids about, okay, if you get separated from us, go to this spot, like the most obvious spot in the park, the big slide or the big castle, whatever it is, so that they can find us. So even when you just go places, it's a good idea to have a little emergency plan in place, and then talk with your parent who it's okay to stop and talk to, right? If you're in a place full of strangers, because in the most part, we're not supposed to be talking to people that we don't know. And as a family, you may talk about, well, look for a policeman or a security guard, things like that, in places that you might go. So I hope that you guys had fun, learned something new about emergency preparedness. Again, so do those 2 homework things. You can watch those other videos for fun and to just kind of go over the first aid items. Next week on Tuesday at 2 o'clock, we're going to go a little bit more in depth and do a couple rescue things and other first aid things for our bears and Webelos. Tigers and wolves, all you need to do is your 2 homework things, and then you can let your pack know that you were done. But bears and Webelos, you need to come next week, next Tuesday, do a couple more things with me, and then a little bit more homework, and then you will be done. So does that all make sense?
Yep.
Good to go? Yes,
So
Miss
a couple
Jessica.
of notes from the comments. One, we will post the pictures of each of those
Great.
as a reminder in the comments after this video. It is being recorded. It's going to take about 10 minutes for it to finish loading up so that you can review it on Facebook. And we'll also put it on our YouTube channel. Next, Ms. Shea is going to write out and post in the comments what requirements we finished today.
Yep.
And which ones you have homework for. And if you have any questions, feel free to put those in the comments and we'll try to answer them. One that I've seen pop up several times: what happens if you're lost and you don't have your phone?
Oh, that's a good one. Especially like my youngest doesn't have a phone. And so just like if you're hiking, what I tell my kids is you go to one spot and stay. Just stay. And for the most part, your parents in general should know kind of where you were. Maybe you were going to Bobby's house, so you got lost in between your house and Bobby's house, right? Or you were at the park and got lost. Stop and stay where you're at, so that if you keep walking, then parents or the policemen, things like that, will have a harder time finding you. So just like on a hike, if you get lost, you're supposed to stop and just sit there and wait, okay? Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Another question, what if your computer gets hacked?
Ooh, so if your computer gets hacked, that is a mom and dad thing that they need to deal with. They need to go to an expert to deal with that. Or maybe mom and dad are an expert. Just depends on your house. We live in Austin. So that is a mom and dad issue. So always let mom and dad know there's something weird going on with the computer. Maybe things are popping up or weird things are happening on the computer. Let mom and dad know right away. And so then they can deal with it and take it into somebody who can fix it.
All right. Well, we've got lots of thank yous from everybody. We will be posting those pictures and the homework assignments and everything that was finished. And we thank you for joining us. So, thank you. I'm going to wave, camera person and Shea. And stay safe out there.
Thank you. Bye, guys.